Data-driven testing allows you to make your tests reusable and more powerful. This is a testing methodology that involves the creation of test scripts where the test data or the input values are read from data files instead of being hard coded into the test case itself. This means testers can input multiple sets of data into the same test case. Data driven testing is important because testers frequently have multiple data sets for a single test, and creating individual tests for each data is pretty time consuming and not maintainable. Here's how you might imagine the big picture of a data driven testing framework, whether it's a Ready API or any other testing framework. You have your application under test. That's just the API in our case when we're working with Ready API. The driver script here is essentially the Ready API test case that you're running to test those APIs. Now, the test data for your test case, such as request parameters for your API, the API payload, all of this can come from a data file rather than you configuring this in any way. Now, you can store your expected output in a data file as well and compare your output from the API with the expected output also in an API file. This is complete data driven testing. With Ready API, you can set up data sources which contain the input data and data sources that contain the output data that you use to compare the response of the API. Data driven testing has many advantages. The test cases are written in such a way that they operate independently of the test data. This means that testers can update or modify the test data files without needing to alter the underlying test case itself. Test data can be sourced from a diverse variety of sources. This is a key strength of data driven testing. For example, in Ready API, you can use sources like Excel files, CSV files. You can even connect to external databases. By utilizing multiple sets of data for the same test case, data driven testing allows you to cover more scenarios and use cases that would be feasible with traditional testing methods where the data is hard coded. It makes your test cases more comprehensive. This will help you uncover edge cases and potential bugs that might not be found when you test with a limited set of data. Data driven testing is built on automation. This allows you to rapidly execute tests with different data sets, and this efficiency speeds up your testing process but also facilitates more frequent testing, important for agile development practices and continuous delivery pipelines. As the application evolves, so too will the test cases and data, and data driven testing makes it easier to scale and maintain tests over time. When the application logic changes, only the relevant test data may need to be updated. The actual test cases may not need any changes at all. This decoupling makes it simpler to extend testing to new features or to adjust existing tests. Regression testing is an important component of running tests. This kind of testing ensures that new code changes do not affect existing functionality. And this is where data driven testing really helps because it allows for the same test scripts to be reused with different data sets, allowing you to test various aspects of the application without needing to write new tests. Here are some best practices you should follow. Make sure your test data reflect real world scenario to validate how exactly the system behaves under actual conditions. Make sure you cover a range of scenarios that represent both common and edge case scenarios to fully test your API. As your test data evolves, make sure you're constantly monitoring and updating your test data as needed. Next, make sure you design your test cases to include steps for navigating through your API as a user would. So it's not just about testing a single API, but about testing an entire workflow where one API is called after another. When you're testing applications that interact with external services or APIs, use virtualized APIs driven by meaningful realistic test data. This allows you to simulate various scenarios that might not be easily testable with live systems. Leverage the data driven functional tests that you set up for security and performance testing as well. By using the same test infrastructure and the datasets, you can assess how your API handles large volumes of data and identify performance bottlenecks or uncover security vulnerabilities. There are certain drawbacks to data driven testing as well. The effectiveness and the quality of your tests rely on the automation and test management skills of the implementing team. Teams with limited experience in automation or those who are not proficient in scripting languages may struggle to set up and utilize data driven testing effectively. In general, with data driven tests, there's definitely a bit of a learning curve, but you'll find that Ready API makes this very, very simple. There's no coding involved at all. If your data sets are huge, it becomes quite time consuming to validate the accuracy and relevance of test data. Ensuring that the data sets are up to date, correctly formatted, and representative of real world scenarios requires a fair bit of effort. Now, along with test cases, you have to maintain data as well, and this adds to the complexity of what you have to keep in mind. Working with data can be labor intensive because as your features evolve, you have to maintain not just the test cases but the data as well.